Hi, I'm Joe Noya, I'm your peak performer coach, and I'm back again to give you some top tips on how to ace an interview. And this has come about because I've actually had some interesting information about people who want to get jobs at Land Rover Jaguar, and this is essentially what I'm going to give you today as 5 top tips. So you can use this information for any particular job interview you go for. So don't worry about it. You can use it for Jaguar, Land Rover, or any interview. This will work with any of the top companies that you're going to go for, okay? So before we start with the top tips, I wanted to give you some really basic information that you should really already cover. One is image. Make sure you dress appropriately for the interview. If you're going professional position, then you need to make sure you wear a suit, shoes re-heeled, polished. If you're a lady, again, you want a suit jacket with a pencil skirt. So just make sure you look professional, okay? And it goes without saying that if you're going for a technical role or something that requires technical information, that you research the company for whatever they want you to know, and you do actually do technical research or revision to make sure you ace any particular test they may give you. Okay, so these 5 top tips are going to make sure that if you've got 2 candidates that you've done well technically on the tests, what they're going to look at is how you performed at interview. Okay, so these are the 5 top tips, and this is number 1. Number 1 is body language. This is a massive one. This is really where you're going to come in the door, they're going to look at you, they're going to look at how you're dressing, and they're not even going to, sometimes people say we don't look at image, but actually it's a subconscious thing, and they'll get a feeling whether they like you. And they'll get a feeling whether they like you within the first 30 seconds, and that bears be a subconscious decision, not even a conscious decision. So it's really important that you hit all those markers as soon as you go in. So it's go in, head held high, good eye contact, and a firm handshake, not limp lettuce like this, and not too hard if you're going to break their hand. So just a nice firm handshake and regular eye contact, and don't stare them out, just regular eye contact to say that you're actually interested in the position and you really want the job. Okay, so that's really number 1. Okay, this is top tip number 2, and top tip number 2 is rapport. So people like to employ people that they like. So when I'm saying in rapport, what we need to do is we need to go in there and we need to sort of mirror their body language. So it may be that they cross their legs. You don't do it exactly the same time. You just wait a little bit of time, then you cross your legs in a different sort of way. So they may clasp their hands like this, but I can't really do it here because I'm in the shop, but you just clasp your hands like similar, not exactly the same, but in a similar way after a bit of time. And gradually you'll start to mirror their body language, in which case you'll start to get on a lot better. So mirroring's a really, really good one. If you're unsure about it, you can always send me an email, and I'm quite happy to expand on that if you want to. And you can look at it on the internet. There's a lot of things about mirroring, which is really, really good. Okay, so top tip number 3 then is likability. So it really fits with number 2, which is the rapport. Likability is another thing. So you may have had a trip up on the train where you spotted a famous celebrity. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to have a little conversation. So usually when interviewers come in, they try and make you feel relaxed because they want you to perform really well. So they'll say, well, how was your trip up here? Or how was your trip down there, depending on which part of the country you're in. And you'll say, well, I had a great trip and I actually spotted a famous celebrity. So what might happen is they might say, oh, who was that then? And then you suddenly got into a little conversation, and they're going to remember that. So it's important that they, again, subconsciously going to remember that conversation they had. Oh, that I've got a feeling that I got really well with this person. So that's what you're aiming for, is the likability. So when those tests that I said before come in and you're exactly the same, they're going to think about this interview that they had with you. So it's really important. Okay. So top tip number 4 is about competency-based questions. Now you would have heard a lot about this if you've done a lot of research about interviews. So it's really important that you follow a set structure. And the set structure, which really works really well and people use really well, and I've used it myself really well, is called STAR. That's situation, task, actions and results. And it's important you just keep to those 4 things, otherwise you can just ramble on. So say for instance the question is, can you give me an example of how you dealt with conflict in a team? So the situation is the conflict, so maybe 2 team members arguing or whatever. The task is to resolve that conflict, so you start off with, we had 2 team members that were arguing. The task is to resolve that. So the third thing is, what actions did you take? So did you take them into a room? Were you the mediator? What did you do? What actions did you take? And how did you resolve it? And then what was the end result? Was there a positive result that came out of the back of it? If so, you need to say that. So it's just 4 things. It's STAR. So remember that. Situation, task, action and result. Brilliant thing to follow. So what if they give you a question that you don't have any experience about? Well, that's really tricky, but I'd also say to you, never blag the answer. If you don't have an experience about it, just be honest about it. So, well, I've not come across this situation before, but if I was in that situation, this is what I would do. And you can follow exactly the same process. Situation, task, action, then result, okay? It's important that you don't blag any information or try and lie, because if you get a good interviewer, they will drill into that information, they'll ask you follow-up questions, and you just won't be able to answer them, and all that hard work you've done from tip number 1 to tip number 4 would have been undone. So it's really, really important. Okay, so number 5 is prepare to ask a question. People who work for companies want you to be asked a question about the company. It should be a positive one. Think of a positive one. So ask them about what's the culture like. Ask how do they feel about it. Where's the company going? Things like that. So you can really start to how you're going to add value. So it might be how how's the company going? I'm really interested in adding value. So how are they doing at the moment, and things like that. So it may say, well, what's the company's mission statement, for instance, or what's their top 10 values of this company? It may be something like that, but a really nice question to show your interest in the position and that you really are interested in wanting to get this job. Okay. So I hope these top tips have really helped you. Thanks for taking time to watch it. So don't forget to like, subscribe and comment, on this video, and go to my website, which is jandcoachingtechnologies.weeby.com. You can also catch me on Facebook, which is the links are on my website, and also on Twitter at jandcoachingtech. So hope these are great. Don't forget to comment, send me an email or whatever, and I'll definitely get back to you. Until next time, thank you, and I'll see you later.